Have you ever met someone who gives their heart so freely, so deeply that it feels like they hold the universe in their chest? That person is a super empath. They feel everything, anticipate your needs, and love in ways that most people can only dream of. And then there are the avoidants, those who shy away from intimacy, who fear getting too close, and who build walls faster than most of us can tear them down. Here's the truth. Avoidants can run from almost anything in life. They can run from vulnerability, from commitment, even from their own feelings, but there is one loss they cannot outrun. There is one person they never truly recover from, and that is the super empath who loves them fiercely and fully. A super empath doesn't just show love, they mirror your soul. They see your pain, your hidden dreams, your insecurities, and your beauty all at once. They make you feel understood in ways you didn't know were possible. And the avoidant, they may try to act indifferent, but deep down, they know the value of what they've lost. They feel the absence of a connection that cannot be replaced, because no one else will love them with the same intensity, patience, and unwavering care. Think about it. A super empath doesn't just leave, they imprint. They leave lessons, memories, and an emotional truth that lingers long after they are gone. And while the avoidant may convince themselves that they're okay, that life goes on as usual, there's a quiet ache, a silent knowing that they will never experience that depth of understanding again. The power of a super empath isn't just in their love, it's in the way they transform those around them. Avoidants might run, they might push away, they might hide behind fear, but they cannot escape the shadow of what they've lost. And in that loss lies a subtle, often unacknowledged truth. The avoidant will never forget the one who saw them fully and chose to stay heart open anyway. So, to all the super empaths out there, keep loving, keep feeling, and keep giving your heart. Not everyone will know your worth, but those who don't will always feel your absence. And to those who fear intimacy, know this. Some connections are too powerful to ignore, and some losses once made never truly heal. Super empaths are not just people who feel, they are people who feel at a level that most of us cannot even imagine. Their emotional radar is so finely tuned that they pick up on subtleties in tone, body language, and energy that others might completely miss. They sense when someone is sad even before a word is spoken, when someone is anxious even before the worry manifests outwardly, and when someone is joyful, they can amplify that joy with their own presence. This depth of perception allows them to connect with others in ways that are profoundly intimate and meaningful. Unlike typical empathy, which might involve understanding someone's feelings from a distance, super empaths absorb emotions. They don't just see your tears, they feel them. They don't just notice your excitement, they live it alongside you. And in this shared emotional space, people often feel completely seen and understood, as if their very soul has been acknowledged. The super empath's power is not limited to emotional awareness. It extends to the way they respond to others. They intuitively know how to nurture, support, and guide without imposing or controlling. They can offer comfort without pity, advice without judgment, and love without expectation. This ability to tune into someone's emotional frequency and respond in a way that feels natural and authentic is a rare gift. It allows relationships to flourish, trust to deepen, and connection to reach levels that are almost spiritual. People often leave interactions with a super empath feeling lighter, calmer, and more confident simply because they have been met with genuine understanding. In a world where superficial interactions are common and emotional depth is rare, the super empath's presence is both rare and magnetic. Moreover, super empaths have a way of amplifying the best in others. They notice potential, strengths, and virtues that even the person themselves might overlook. Through encouragement, reflection, and gentle guidance, they help people grow in ways that feel effortless because it is rooted in authentic care rather than manipulation. Their empathy becomes transformative, inspiring self-awareness, emotional growth, and a sense of validation. When someone encounters a super empath, they often leave not only feeling seen, but also feeling encouraged to become a better, more whole version of themselves. This unique combination of deep emotional perception and constructive, nurturing response is what makes a super empath extraordinarily rare and powerful. At the same time, the intensity of a super empath's love and care can be overwhelming to those who are not prepared to meet it. They give fully, vulnerably, and without hesitation, which can be intimidating to someone who has built walls or fears intimacy. Their presence demands authenticity, emotional honesty, and vulnerability from others. This is precisely why avoidants, who fear being truly known, are so affected by losing a super empath. The connection created by a super empath cannot easily be replaced because it is not just about emotional support. It is about a level of understanding, attention, and care that is profoundly rare. Their emotional depth, combined with their ability to respond in ways that nurture and transform, makes their love unforgettable, life-changing, and ultimately irreplaceable. Avoidants are often misunderstood. On the surface, they may seem confident, independent, and emotionally self-sufficient. They navigate life with a sense of detachment, keeping their relationships at arm's length and avoiding vulnerability whenever possible. This behavior is not because they lack feelings or are incapable of love. Rather, it stems from a deep-seated fear of being overwhelmed, abandoned, or hurt. Avoidants are acutely aware of the risks that come with intimacy, and they have learned to protect themselves by building emotional walls. These walls serve as both shield and prison. They protect the avoidant from potential pain, but also prevent them from experiencing the richness of deep connection. When they encounter someone who challenges these defenses, such as a super empath, their usual coping strategies begin to falter. Super empaths confront avoidance with a kind of emotional honesty and depth that they are unprepared for, while avoidants are skilled at maintaining distance, deflecting emotions, and controlling the pace of a relationship. The super empath does not accept half measures. They give love fully, observe keenly, and respond intuitively to emotional cues. This intensity can unsettle the avoidant, as it confronts them with parts of themselves they would rather ignore: the longing for connection, the need to be seen, and the capacity to feel deeply. The avoidant's natural response is often to pull away, to retreat into familiar patterns of self-protection. Yet even as they distance themselves, they are internally aware that something significant is at stake. The presence of a super empath illuminates what they have been missing in their own emotional life, exposing both their fears and the depth of what they could potentially lose. The loss of a super empath is particularly acute for an avoidant because it represents a rare encounter with someone who genuinely sees, understands, and accepts them without judgment. Avoidants may believe they can move on, that life will continue unaffected, but the absence of this kind of connection leaves a lasting imprint. Unlike fleeting relationships or surface-level interactions, a super empath's love is immersive. They remember details, validate emotions, and respond in ways that create a profound sense of safety and intimacy. When this bond is broken, avoidants are left with a subtle but persistent sense of emptiness. They may distract themselves with work, hobbies, or other relationships, but there is an undeniable recognition that no one else can replicate the understanding and care that the super empath provided. Avoidance' fear of intimacy, while protective in the short term, ultimately prevents them from fully appreciating the rare gift of a super empath while they have it. They may convince themselves that distance is necessary, that independence is preferable, or that emotions are too dangerous, yet the truth is that this avoidance cannot erase the memory or the impact of the connection. The super empath leaves behind a standard of love and understanding that avoidants are rarely equipped to experience again. No amount of distractions or defenses can fully heal the quiet ache left by this unique bond. It is a loss that stays with them, a reminder of the love they could not hold on to and the depth of connection they were not ready to accept. A super empath does not simply come into someone's life and leave. They create a lasting imprint, a presence that lingers long after they are gone. This imprint is not physical, nor is it something that can be easily measured, but it is profoundly felt. It exists in the way they make people feel seen, understood, and valued, in the way they hold space for emotions without judgment, and in the way they give attention and care that feels rare and irreplaceable. When an avoidant experiences a super empath, they are confronted with a kind of emotional intimacy that is both beautiful and terrifying. They are reminded of what it feels like to be truly known, not superficially understood, but deeply acknowledged in every nuance of their being. This is a sensation they cannot easily replicate with anyone else, and this is why the loss of a super empath resonates so deeply. The imprint of a super empath goes beyond moments of emotional support. It embeds itself in the avoidant's understanding of what connection can truly be. They remember the gestures of care that were so instinctive, the way the super empath anticipated needs before they were even spoken, and the way they provided love that was consistent, patient, and unwavering. Even if the avoidant convinces themselves that they are unaffected, that life continues as normal, the memory of such a connection lingers. It surfaces unexpectedly, through a thought, a song, a shared joke, or a quiet moment of reflection. The imprint is a subtle, unshakable reminder of the depth they once experienced and the rare opportunity they failed to embrace fully. Moreover, a super empath's imprint is as much about emotional lessons as it is about emotional presence. They model a form of love that is both powerful and non-possessive, showing others how to be attentive, empathetic, and genuinely present in ways that are transformative. The avoidant, who is often skilled at maintaining distance, cannot escape the knowledge of what was possible because the super empath has already demonstrated it. They leave a standard, an emotional blueprint that informs how the avoidant will perceive relationships moving forward. It is a standard that is difficult to forget, and in many ways, it becomes a quiet measuring stick by which all future connections are compared. This imprint is also characterized by the memories, the shared moments, and the emotional depth that cannot be replicated. Super empaths notice the small things, your moods, your patterns, your dreams, your fears, and respond in ways that make people feel uniquely understood. These memories are carried forward, creating a sense of longing, of recognition, and sometimes of regret, as the avoidant reflects on what they lost. It is not simply the absence of a person, but the absence of an experience that was transformative, validating, and life-changing. Ultimately, the super empath's imprint ensures that their presence cannot be erased, even if they are no longer physically part of the avoidant's life. The lessons, the emotional resonance, and the memories all persist, shaping how the avoidant approaches love, vulnerability, and intimacy in the future. It is a subtle, enduring truth. Some connections leave marks that time cannot fade, and a super empath's love is one that is unforgettable, life-altering, and impossible to replace. The loss of a super empath is unlike any other loss an avoidant might experience. Avoidants are familiar with absence in a general sense. They can detach, withdraw, and convince themselves that distance is easier than intimacy, but the departure of a super empath leaves a void that cannot be filled by casual connections or superficial replacements. Super empaths offer a rare combination of understanding, patience, and emotional depth, and once they are gone, the avoidant is left to grapple with the reality that no one else will replicate that level of connection. It is not merely the absence of a person, but the absence of a presence so uniquely attuned to their needs and emotions that it cannot be replicated. This loss is permanent in a way that casual relationships rarely are, and it resonates because it represents a love that was fully realized and fully given, yet ultimately unmet in terms of mutual availability or willingness to stay. Avoidants may try to rationalize or intellectualize the loss, convincing themselves that independence is preferable, that they were not ready, or that love in such intensity is overwhelming. While these justifications may help them cope on the surface, they cannot erase the emotional truth of the connection. The super empath's influence lingers in memory, in habits, in the subtle expectations of care and attention that were once normalized. Even if an avoidant continues to function in life, they will carry with them the awareness that a rare type of intimacy existed and was lost, and that awareness becomes a quiet, constant companion. There is an unspoken understanding that such love is irreplaceable, that it set a standard they were unprepared to meet, and that the absence of that love will shape their emotional landscape indefinitely. The loss of a super empath also highlights what avoidants often fear the most: being truly seen. Avoidants tend to maintain walls because they are afraid of exposure and vulnerability, but a super empath penetrates those defenses effortlessly. They see beyond the facades and meet the avoidant's inner world with curiosity, care, and acceptance. When that presence is removed, avoidants are confronted with both the absence of that understanding and the emptiness of the protective barriers they relied upon. There is a subtle ache in realizing that the love they encountered was not transactional or superficial, but profound, and once gone, there is nothing to replicate that exact feeling. It is the realization that while they may continue to navigate life, they will never experience a connection of that depth with anyone else in quite the same way. Furthermore, this loss is instructive in a way that other experiences are not. It forces avoidants to recognize, even if only subconsciously, the value of vulnerability, patience, and emotional presence. While they may resist these lessons or fail to fully integrate them at first, the absence of the super empath leaves an undeniable mark on their understanding of relationships. It serves as a benchmark, a silent measure of the emotional richness they once had and failed to nurture. And because super empaths leave such a lasting imprint, avoidants are left with a memory of what could have been, a memory that will influence their choices, desires, and fears in every subsequent relationship. Ultimately, losing a super empath is not something an avoidant easily recovers from. The connection was too unique, the care too rare, and the emotional depth too profound to be replaced. It is a quiet, enduring truth that echoes through their emotional world long after the person has gone, leaving them to confront a loss they cannot ignore and a love they cannot replicate. Super empaths carry a gift that is both rare and transformative, and part of that gift is the way they impact not only the people they love, but also the broader emotional landscape around them. Their capacity for deep empathy, intuitive understanding, and unwavering care creates a presence that is impossible to ignore, even when it is met with resistance or fear. This is why avoidants, who are often skilled at maintaining emotional distance, are so profoundly affected by losing a super empath. The power of a super empath lies not only in the depth of their feelings, but in the consistency and authenticity with which they express those feelings. They do not give selectively or conditionally, they give fully, and in doing so, they set a standard for love and connection that is difficult for anyone else to match. Super empaths are aware of the impact of their presence, yet they are not motivated by a desire for recognition or control. Their love is genuine, selfless, and attuned to the needs of others. They understand that true connection requires patience, vulnerability, and attentiveness, and they practice these qualities naturally, often without conscious effort. This creates relationships that feel safe, validating, and profoundly intimate. People feel seen in ways they never have before, and avoidants, who are often used to managing distance and detachment, are confronted with an intensity of care that challenges their habitual patterns. This is precisely why super empaths leave such an enduring mark. They teach through example what it feels like to be fully understood and accepted, and that lesson lingers long after they are gone. The super empath's influence is also transformative because it encourages growth. By modeling empathy, attentiveness, and emotional honesty, they inspire those around them to reach deeper within themselves, to confront their own vulnerabilities, and to engage more authentically with the people they care about. Avoidants may resist this at first, feeling uncomfortable with the closeness and emotional exposure that a super empath demands, but the imprint remains. Over time, they cannot deny that their experience with a super empath has changed the way they perceive love and connection. Even if they move on to other relationships, there is a subtle benchmark that has been set, a standard of understanding, patience, and care that is difficult to replicate. Super empaths also embody the idea that love is not about possession or control. It is about presence, awareness, and generosity of heart. They give freely, and their love is a reflection of their character rather than a transaction. For avoidants, this is both captivating and destabilizing. They may attempt to rationalize or escape, but the emotional truth remains. The absence of a super empath leaves a void that cannot be filled, a realization that the depth of connection they experienced is irreplaceable. It is a loss that teaches, shapes, and lingers, a quiet but powerful reminder of the value of emotional openness and authentic care. Ultimately, the super empath's gift is not diminished by resistance or rejection. Their influence endures, shaping relationships, emotional awareness, and personal growth long after they have departed. For avoidants, this creates a paradoxical experience. The love they once had and could not fully embrace continues to affect them in subtle and lasting ways. Super empaths leave behind a standard of connection and an imprint of love that cannot be erased, reminding everyone who encounters them of the rare and transformative power of true empathy and wholehearted presence. In closing, the presence of a super empath is a rare and transformative gift, one that leaves an indelible mark on the lives they touch, especially on those who struggle with intimacy and fear vulnerability. Their love, care, and unwavering understanding create connections that cannot be replaced, and even in absence, their influence lingers, shaping hearts, choices, and emotional awareness. To all the super empaths here today, keep giving your heart fearlessly, for your love changes lives in ways that are felt long after you've gone. And to everyone listening, may we recognize, honor, and never take for granted the depth of such connections. Thank you for allowing me to share this journey with you.